Welcome to Musician Life Mondays. This is Dan Rohde. I'm in a band called Oreja, and I live and work here in Austin, Texas as a musician. Today's topic is musician and venue/bar/restaurant relations. We're kindred spirits, but we're not exactly the same type of thing. One of the things about being an entertainer and also being a bartender and a server is that you have to develop a certain type of social friendliness that a lot of other professions, they don't have to cultivate. A lot of people mistake friendliness for people that are your friend. It's really difficult to differentiate those things sometimes, especially as a customer, I think. I'm going to throw customers in it. I'm going to say musician, venue staff, and customer relations and how they all interact with each other. A good example of this, and I know it's a little crass, but strippers. They're only interested in you because you have money and you're going to give them that money. Servers and bartenders, they kind of act on the same principle. They want your tip money. Strippers want you to buy a dance. Bartenders and servers want you to tip them, especially in the United States where the minimum wage is a lot less than other countries that don't have a tipping culture. In America, a lot of service industry relies on tipping to pay their bills. Honestly, it's kind of a broken system. You're basically relying on the kindness of strangers to pay your rent, pay your bills, buy food for yourself. It's kind of ingrained in culture. Like tipping is kind of a customary practice in our society. And when anybody applies a service in the United States, it's kind of unsaid but expected that you tip them for doing a good job. And that goes for everywhere from strippers to bartenders to servers to musicians. Honestly, in Austin, it's not this way at every city, but Austin usually has a flat guarantee for 3 to 4 hour shows. Not all venues are like that. I've heard Nashville, Broadway, musicians that play cover gigs and such, they kind of get the shaft and they're only getting tips for playing for 2, 3, 4 hours, which kind of sucks. It kind of sours my opinion of Nashville. And I understand it's a very saturated market. There's a huge music industry and there's like a huge gap between people that are just getting started and people that are established professionals in Nashville. Austin, we have a guarantee. Any tips are basically just extra, which is a good format because we know we're walking away with some money, so we're not as pressed to be friendly to guests, but it definitely helps. You're in a social situation, you're bringing the fun, and so are bartenders and servers, but servers and bartenders in America are a little bit basically banking on you tipping them, and then musicians, at least here in Austin, the tips are kind of a bonus. All that being said, there's a kind of extra friendliness to all of us that can come off as us wanting to be your close friend. I'm sure like the female bartenders, servers, and musicians, they get a lot of sexual attention that they probably didn't really want in the first place, but I can sympathize with that. I'm not condoning that behavior. It's a weird dynamic of them politely declining those type of things and also keeping it friendly because they still want your money. They still want that tip at the end of the night. They have to walk a tightrope of friendliness, but with a barrier. I think that this develops a kind of a standoffishness with musicians and venue staff, especially if you like to hang out. I'm not saying that I haven't made friends with people that serve and bartend. I've made plenty of friends doing that, and I have memories with these people that I will cherish forever, and I've learned a lot of lessons, and I've learned a lot of great things about myself and other people just by doing this career. But there is a little bit of a barrier. As a musician becoming friends with bar, restaurant, and venue staff, you're not really one of them, if that makes sense. They're not calling you to hang out. You're kind of just work friends. Probably a little bit more than acquaintances because you get to know them pretty well. You have some good conversations, but you're work friends, and that's totally cool. You work at an office, you got an office buddy, but you don't really see him outside of work. I think it's really important to keep some level of professionalism while you're there. Go ahead and make those conversations. Go branch out. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know what story you're going to find. Meeting new people is just as beneficial to you as it is to them. We're humans. We crave human connection. My experience is you need to be careful with overly friendly bartenders and servers because when they're talking to you, they might not have turned their I'm making money personality off. They might not be talking to you on a real level, and that's totally fine. They're at work. They got to keep that work personality going, but it's important for you to manage expectations when you're talking. Approach it like they're work acquaintances. Maybe we'll be work friends. It rarely pans out that they're like lifelong friends. Besides a handful of people, I have yet to get super close to a lot of service industry people. I've gotten closer to coworkers and other musicians more than like venue, bar, and restaurant staff. They're still friendly to you. If you're just minding your own business, they're happy you're there. If you're not in impeding their job, they don't care if you're there. And you can have a conversation with them here and there, be respectful with their time. It goes back to that stripper mentality. Those strippers don't like you. They just want your money. And like bartenders and servers, there's a degree of that. It's not as bad. I don't want to call it necessarily like elitism, but you're not part of their crew. It sometimes feels like you're part of their crew because you're both there to do a job. You're both there to bring people in and buy drinks and buy food. It can feel like you're part of a team, but they're not inviting you to their niece's birthday. They're not going to ask you for a ride to the airport. They're not going to visit you in the hospital if you're sick. You got to manage your expectations. Realize that they're work friends. That might be as deep as it goes. It can be really tough and frustrating because they are in an environment where they have to people please for more money. They sometimes don't know when to turn it off. They might be overly friendly to you and you think there's more to your relationship than there actually is. I'm not blaming them for that. That's just their job, but it can be a little frustrating, especially if you're in a city where you don't know a lot of people and you're trying to connect with people. It's something I've had to learn over the years. I'm from a smaller town. In a bigger city, I don't want to call it fake nice. I want to call it friendliness, but at a distance. Especially with Austin, there's a lot of people that like to move here and they're eager to make friends, but there's also a lot of people that like to capitalize on that emotion. So they play the friend. And I understand it's for tips. They're playing this role of this intimate relationship with you for money. It's transactional. You have to separate your mind from your emotions because it can be a little confusing at times. I guess this is a message to customers and musicians and bartenders. It's a little bit of everything. The relationship dynamic can be kind of skewed. The product is the good time. The product's the liquor and the food and the tickets. The product really at the end of the day is a good time for the customer. The musicians, the servers, the bartenders, they try to cultivate this good time. I think that's all I gotta say. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for this video. I do these every Monday. I do a Tone Turtle Fridays every Friday where I break down an odd time signature in one of my band's original songs. And then every Tuesday, I live stream Blind Pig Pub Happy Hour gig from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central, live on YouTube. Have a good day.